Good morning again. This is Andy with Mountain Computers. We're going to talk about power supplies now. And the cool thing about power supplies is they're not that expensive. They used to be a little bit more not as durable as they are now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about 5 or 6 different power supplies and what to look for when you're buying one, okay? And the price range. So, first of all, let's talk about a small power supply like this one here, okay? This is a small form factor power supply. You're looking for the wattage and you're looking for the connectors. In this case, you just got a 20-pin connector. These are Molex connectors, 4-pin. And then this here is a power connector, real small. It is actually for a floppy drive, 3.5 inch to be exact. That goes into a small shuttle, okay? We keep used ones and new ones around. You never know when you might need one. This one here is an HP power supply. This came out of probably a Pavilion computer. As you can see, there's a fan on the back, there's a power indication light, and that's where you plug the power in. This one here is a 20 plus 4-pin connect, 24-pin, okay? It doesn't break out, it's not split. You don't see the little breakout where the 4-pin can come out or not. For the older computers, really old, they'll be 20-pin connectors. The newer ones will be 24. So in this case, that's the main power that goes to the motherboard. Here's the plus 4 power connector. This actually goes to the other side of the motherboard. And then on this power supply, you have actually 2 serial ATA power connectors. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the maximum you can connect to this power supply is that many. Now you can get a splitter that actually plugs into this and breaks off and gives you 2 more, but I don't recommend it unless you're really in a pinch. And this power supply here, as far as the wattage goes, you're always looking to see what the maximum wattage out is. And in this case, this one is 300 watt. Okay, so just good to know. This power supply is like for 300 watts, like 30 bucks, 25 bucks. This is a brand new power supply. This is by Corsair. It's a 550 watt. I'm not going to break it open. We have a couple of those in stock. We use it for repairs. But anyhow, those are for the mid-range computers all around. Those average between $45, $65, depending on the time of the year. So, if you get them on like Cyber Monday or like, when the electronic sales are on during the year, you can get them for half price. Usually they'll stock up for a few, but you don't need a lot. This is a big power supply. You can see this. We keep a couple of these around. These are for servers, big servers. We also use them just for testing because they've got so much power. I mean, you can see it's got 2, 20-pin plus 24-pin power. It's got a 6-pin PCI Express power, a couple of those. In this case, you've got some serial ATA power, floppy drive power, 1 Molex. We don't really sell those, we just use those for testing. It's good to have extra power on the bench if you need it. This is even a bigger one. This is an 850 watt power supply. You can get these on eBay or Amazon. They can be expensive, like $100 or higher. I think we paid like $129 at the time. But we've had these for years. We have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the silver ones, 1, 2 of these. But those are handy to have around. And then this power supply here, this is your standard all-around generic power supply, 350 watt, maybe 300 watt, I don't know, let me look. This is a 320 watt max. So your 24-pin power plus 4, bunch of Molex 4-pin power, 2 floppy, actually 2 floppy drive powers. And then this one here, this is weird. This is for an old motherboard. I don't know what this connector is. And then actually there is a 3-pin power connector that actually goes to the motherboard to sense whether or not, obviously, the power for the motherboard is performing well and probably providing some sensory back to this guy. But as far as power supplies go, the wattages can be as low as like 200, 250 watt for small form factor that go into our shuttles, and it can go as high as 1,000 watts or more. We don't stock high-end power supplies. We order them as needed, build to order. Average 750 watt, 800 watt, 850 watt is needed for some of our larger builds where we have extra power for room for expansion. As far as middle of the road, we'll go between a 450 watt and a 550 watt power supply. 600 if it's on sale. And as far as the price ranges go, we'll pay $50, $60 for a power supply. We'll turn around and sell it for $65, $75. You know, make a little bit of profit, but we make more of our money in the labor and the service, not necessarily in the parts. All of our customers know that, and that's why they love us. So anyhow, that's power supplies. How many power supplies go in a computer? One. How fast can you install a power supply into a computer? 5-10 minutes. If you have to replace one, we have seen power supplies with zip ties. I mean, some of our IT competitors just use zip ties inside the computer case just to clean it up. And is it a hassle to fix? Yeah. Is it safe? Of course. Yeah, no, what they're doing is they're trying to keep the power cables and stuff away from any moving components like a CPU fan. But these days there's not that many moving parts at all, so you don't have to worry about that. But it is nice to clean up your power cables inside the chassis, inside the computer case. Do we like putting zip ties back in? Not really, but when we do that when we clump them to give some room and space and keep things, you know, away from the computer case fans that may be in the front or the back. As far as any other types of power supplies, the ETA for ordering a power supply is usually 1 day, 2 days, unless it's a special order. We have strapped power supplies to the outside of a computer case just to get a business owner through a pinch. And we'll strap it on the back and put the power cables inside just to get the computer to work so they can get back to work. And when the power supply for their computer comes in, then we just swap them out. What else about power supplies? I think the only other thing that I know about power is the weird stuff you run into. We have seen 3-pin power strips that are 220 volt rather than 110, and those are supposed to be color coded, like a different color than your standard wall outlet of 110 power, 110 volt. So be careful about that when you go into a business. When it comes down to personal computers and computer cases, you don't really need to worry about it. It's all 110 volt, 110, 120. If you have a UPS battery, you'll see that the voltage does fluctuate depending on the load. But I think that's about it. So we'll be right back. Don't forget to put comments, like, subscribe. And if you are a sponsor, future sponsor, the manufacturers of our power supplies that we use, we used to use Raidmax. Sparkle was a really good one, more expensive. Corsair, Rosewill, there's other manufacturers out there, but not that many. But we want a really good power supply they call it an 80 bronze. It just has to do with power conditioning and stability. Can it take a hit? How many times can a power supply take a hit? Through a lightning storm or whatever, we recommend you just unplug the power from the wall, leave the computer totally air-gapped. Don't even let the power or lightning hit a building, or brownouts are worse than anything when it comes to a computer. A spike, a surge protector can block. But brownouts, when you have lower voltages and you feel the lights in the place and the power triggers on and off, that's a bad thing. It's even worse for electronics. So the power supplies we get are very well conditioned to get you through most of those hiccups. But that's about it. If you have any questions, again, subscribe, like, comments. And that's it for now. We'll be right back.